All right, let's dive right in. Today, we're looking at a pretty radical new concept for how government could work. It's a system that's all about replacing political promises with something you can actually see and verify: cold, hard proof.
You know the feeling, right? There's a big press conference, a major announcement, but then months, maybe even years go by, and you're left wondering, so whatever happened with that? This whole system we're talking about today is designed to slam that gap shut, for good.
So, the source material draws a really clear line in the sand. On one side, you have what it calls press release governance. It runs on announcements, promises, and rhetoric. Accountability, it's all over the place. But on the other side, you have proof-based governance. Here, the only thing that matters are artifacts, real public records, and evidence you can actually replay. And instead of accountability being fragmented, you get clear custody-based ownership. You know exactly who is responsible for what. So how in the world does this actually work? Well, the whole architecture is built around a metaphor you'd probably never expect: a Christmas carol. Yeah, you heard that right. But it's actually a pretty brilliant way to structure a really powerful system. It all starts with the number 12. The big idea here is that a country's greatest challenges, what the system calls dominant civic burdens, aren't some infinite, unknowable fog. They can actually be counted and named. And in this model, there are exactly 12 of them. And here's the next key number. To solve those 12 burdens, the system says you need a very specific number of verifiable results, or GIFs, 78 of them to be exact. Now, that's not just a random number, it's the sum of the days of Christmas. One gift on day 1 plus 2 on day 2, 3 on day 3, all the way up to 12. And all that gives the system its official name, NBRC 78. It stands for National Burden Resolution Capability. The entire point of its existence is to be a structured, repeatable way to tackle a nation's hardest problems. And, this is a key part, prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that the job is actually done. This is where that carol metaphor really shines. Think about the song. On the second day, you get 2 turtle doves and a partridge in a pear tree. You don't forget what came before. This system works the same way. Every new phase reactivates and includes all the earlier ones. It's all about cumulative growth and building a real institutional memory. Okay, but for a system like this to have any real teeth, it can't just be a nice idea. It needs super strict technical rules. Rules that make sure every single claim is real, auditable, and totally legitimate. And that's where something called OLK 301 comes in. You can think of it as the system's truth-enforcing standard. It's basically a technical roadblock that stops anyone from acting on assumed power. It forces every single action to prove it has the authority, the ownership, and a clear definition of what done looks like. So OLK 301 has 3 core disciplines. First up, replayable authority. You have to prove exactly who gave the order and what its jurisdiction is. Second, append-only custody. This creates a permanent, unchangeable audit trail. Nothing ever gets deleted. And third, and this is so important, closure discipline. You have to define exactly what finished looks like before you even start. No moving the goalposts halfway through. So in this world, you can't just make a claim in a speech and call it a day. No way. Any claim has to be attached to a public artifact. We're talking about a live dashboard, a public map, an official register, something real that people can see. And that artifact has to have a named person responsible for it, use crystal clear definitions that can't be changed later, and get updated on a predictable public schedule. The rule is simple: no artifact, no claim. Period. Okay, so we've got the rules of the game. Now let's see how this system actually builds on itself, how it gains momentum and starts delivering real results day by day. Everything kicks off on day 1 with just one single output, one proof of integrity. This is the bedrock, the master ledger. It's the visible proof that holds everything that comes after it accountable. You could say it's the root of the entire tree. Now, jump ahead to day 7, and the system is producing really tangible stuff. The source material gives the example of 7 works delivered. Think major infrastructure projects, bridges, roads, you name it, all tracked transparently and all proven to be delivered on time, on budget, and actually fit for purpose. And finally, we get to day 12. This is the grand finale. This is where the entire system integrates to solve the gnarliest, most complex problems. the kind that sprawl across federal, state, and local governments. It turns all these separate parts into one single, coherent delivery machine. Now, this is where the design gets really, really clever. The whole system is intentionally backweighted. You can see the foundational days only have 10 proof outputs, but the final governance phase has 42. This is on purpose. It's a deliberate stress test that forces the system to prove it can handle the pressure when complexity is at its absolute peak.
So let's zoom out. What does all this actually mean for us? What are the real-world implications of shifting to this kind of truth-constrained governance? Well, they're pretty profound.
There's a line from the source material that really hits the nail on the head. It says, this framework doesn't attack politics. Instead, it aims to restore trust through visible delivery. The point isn't to get rid of debate. It's to ground that debate in reality.
If you walk away with just one thought, let it be this one. The entire goal here is to shift the very basis of a government's legitimacy away from what is said and toward what can be verified.
And that leaves us with a final, really powerful question to think about. What would our world look like if leadership wasn't measured by the power of a speech, but by the integrity of a record that anyone, anywhere, could check and replay for themselves?